One thing that I question is why people like social media and what does it mean for journalists. I think one of the really important things is trust. There's been a tectonic shift in trust. I've heard a PR executive talk about it in terms of a shift from the age of deference to an age of reference. If you have, I haven't got enough hands, if you have a pyramid of trust, yeah, a triangle of trust, whereas at the top you would have leaders, then underneath elders, underneath that experts, celebrities, alternative opinions, friends and family, the man on the street at the bottom would be the least trusted. Back in the age of deference, where we would sit there and listen to the state broadcaster who would tell us what to think, and we would say, okay, that has gone. Survey after survey seems to show that people have turned it upside down. The man in the street is the first person that they will trust. Then friends and family, alternative opinions, celebrities, experts, the elders, and all our leaders are at the bottom. Asians also trust social media more than traditional media. There was a survey done by Ogilvy that found that 52% of those surveyed trusted completely recommendations from friends and family. Only 2% didn't trust recommendations from friends and family. Whereas about the same amount, comparative amount, would trust TV ads or magazine ads. Listen to this, publishers, those of you who are trying to make money. 13% trusted completely TV ads and magazine ads. 12% did not trust TV ads or magazine ads. Another thing, so there's this thing of candor and authenticity that I think people really like from social media. There's also this sense of community. You're sharing beliefs. You can form communities of interests. There's been a flattening of previously vertical information structures. We are in an age also of radical transparency, radical accountability. The other day, the government of the Philippines has a Twitter handle. What was it? @govph. And it happened to be World Teachers' Day. And they said, "Happy Teachers' Day!" And I couldn't restrain myself and had to reply, "If you mean it, fix the education system." People aren't scared. I mean, I'm very outspoken, I suppose, comparatively, but you have a certain anonymity. They're not scared anymore not to say what they think. It's all right if you want to give the motherhood statements, but people are going to challenge them. They love this interactivity. They want interactivity. Hang on. And journalists cannot just stand by and wait for it to take us over. Another aspect of social media that I wanted to bring out is, could it help to save ourselves? Just because we're talking about journalist safety a bit later. My husband is a cameraman for CNN, and he is always getting in and out of trouble. He was detained, not for the first time, in Chad for Nat Geo. And it went on and on for weeks. He was there for 3 weeks. And it got to the point where they were almost going to charge him with espionage for Sudan, because, you know, he's a 6-foot-tall Australian, and they're all, you know, spies for Sudan. He was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And the embassies, the US embassy got very bored of it very quickly, even though he was working for Nat Geo. The president of Nat Geo was totally unhelpful. He was just like, we're doing what we can. And he probably had his feet up in some country club in Maryland. In the end, and what was I doing? I was ringing and ringing and ringing absolutely everybody that I know, because I was advised by a veteran journalist, Ian McIntosh. Don't let go. Apply white hot heat so he doesn't become just another name in an inbox. And actually DFAT were brilliant, the Australian government were brilliant. They were saying the moment that he enters the Australian court, the court system in whatever country, it's over. You have to let it take its course. So if he's going to come out, it's got to be now. I was, imagining myself in widow weeds in black at the back of a courtroom crying in N'Djamena and thinking, property must be cheap there, I suppose, if he's in jail for 20 years for espionage. Anyway, he got out, it was fine in the end. Fast forward to a few months ago when Ayman Mohyeddin, Al Jazeera's correspondent in Cairo, got detained, arrested. I'm not quite sure what happened. He ended up in a police station. There was an enormous outpouring of interest on Twitter. An instant community of interest. Petitions, people tweeting, whoever was the Secretary of State at the time who had a Twitter account. Everyone was, it helps that Ayman's handsome and tall and got muscles and all that. And he's a star and everything. But, I mean, that was extraordinary to me, and I have no doubt at all that it helped. So the community of interest that we're making here today, I think, could make a really big difference. Can you imagine all of you tweeting about some issue? We need a convention to protect journalists in Mindanao. What if we all tweet about that incessantly? And all our followers are listening to it. How many followers have you got? I am hollow. How many? 5,000. Maybe all of us have got about 5,000 followers. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. We're in a situation where anything could work. Nobody knows what really works to make things change. Even the leaders themselves, they don't know. They're doing these Twitter accounts. You can see GovPH. They don't really know what they're doing. They put, Happy Teachers Day, but they don't really take it anywhere. So I think it's an enormous time of opportunity. And I would say, and let me at this point quote Vladimir, I think, I forgot his first name, Mayakovsky, the artist of the Russian Revolution, who ended up killing himself out of disappointment with the way that the revolution was going. He is variously quoted. This is attributed to him, but it's disputed. He said it about art, but I'm going to change it and say it about information today. Information is not a mirror of reality. Okay, that's the age of deference, isn't it? That's kind of, the age of deference concept of what information does. Information is not a mirror of reality, but a weapon with which to shape it. People use social media. Every one of us can leverage it to support a cause. This Google Earth guy, can I tell this story? How am I doing for time? Not very well, right? He told me an amazing story. Have you ever, on Google Earth, they do these overlays and they do outreach programs like Ushahidi, right? They were involved in a project called Map the Fallen. And they tracked every single soldier, US and coalition, who had died in Afghanistan and linked it to their family or where they were from in the world. And if you click on those links, you will see their faces, you will see their family, you will read about the hopes that they had before they went to war, the kind of lives that they had hoped to lead. Michael Jones, who was giving this speech, he's the technology advocate for Google, he showed it to President Obama, who looked at it, and here comes my subtitle, he said, "I never knew that." That's what I mean by the difference between knowing something and really understanding it so that you feel something in your heart. And technology, innovation, social media, it can do all of this. I mean, I wanted to respond to something that Philippe was saying a bit earlier. We can all do this. The media should be able to do this. We want to do this to make people feel something. Those are our successful stories. But we often can't afford to send. It's dangerous. And there's, of course, the commercial imperative. But now with the new media, I personally would see it not as competition, but as something that can enlarge our capacity to observe. It's leverage, not competition. We can get information from people who live in the area that we are covering. It can save lives, potentially. I remember Dan Rivers, my former colleague at CNN, who was just in Libya, tried to save this Ethiopian lady who was the nanny of Gaddafi. I really remember the tweet went out saying, "Anyone got the number of the ICRC here in Libya? Maybe we can get this lady out." And they're doing it, so it seems so casual on Twitter. it can expand the debate to people who are previously voiceless to participate in the debate. The thing is that everyone's getting into it, and in this age of transparency and accountability, the WikiLeaks age, if you don't get into it, you will be left behind in the race to shape public opinion about your brand, your cause, whatever it is that you are about. And I think the public make their decisions very, very quickly. I think that in my work, when I do an interview and it's on TV, I think people, and it's live, I think people decide very quickly, within 10 seconds, what the interview is about. Am I going to let this guy get away with it? Yeah? And they love to see you bring politicians to account, or anyone to account. Are you doing your job as a journalist? Yeah, is it going to be the same old thing or not? I think that's one of the reasons why trust has been eroded in the traditional media.